Hello everyone. So in today's video session, we'll be looking into the application side of the combinational circuits, which includes multiplexers, decoders, and programmable logic devices. Brushing the things what you have studied in the first chapter of the third module, we have studied something regarding combinational circuits. We have studied how those particular circuits can be rigged up, what are the different ways in which you can reduce those particular circuits in order to get the simplest expressions, and we also checked out how those particulars can be brought into reality, and once they are brought into reality, how you are going to check whether those circuits are functioning properly or not. That is, we checked the various ways in which you can simulate those particular circuits, and you can check or you can test those particular circuits. In today's class, we'll be checking regarding multiplexers, which is one of the important topic and which is one of the interesting topics of the combinational circuits. Later, we'll be checking regarding decoders, and finally, programmable logic devices. So, speaking regarding your multiplexers, people normally call this multiplexers in a short form by the name MUX. By the name MUX. And these multiplexers are the ones which has got multiple data input, and one single output. So let's say this is my multiplexer block diagram. So the inputs, whatever I'm going to give to a multiplexers, are called as data inputs, and the outputs are called as data outputs. In addition to this data inputs and outputs, there are some inputs which are called as control inputs, or you can call them as selector inputs. You can call them as control inputs or selector inputs. Now, how does this work? Let's say that you have got multiple data inputs at the input side. Out of this multiple data inputs, one of the data input has to be selected, and that particular data input what has been selected should be sent to the output side. No processing will happen inside. Let's check out the internal circuitry later, but let's understand the working of the multiplexer initially. So the data will be selected, one of the data will be taken or selected from the multiple data inputs, and that selected data input will be sent to the output side. Now the question is, based on what criteria are you selecting this particular data inputs? Do you have any criteria in order to select the data inputs, or are you selecting the data inputs randomly? The data inputs are selected based on the status of the control or selector inputs. That is why we have control or selector inputs here. So the selection of the data will be done by this controller or selector inputs. If that particular data need to go to the output side, then the control or selector inputs need to be selecting those particular data based on the status of the control or selector inputs, or based on the values of the control or selector inputs, the signals will be selected or input data will be selected, and it will be sent to the output side. This is very similar to, there are multiple movies in the theater, and you will go to the theater and you want to watch a movie, but you are confused which one to watch. So what you are going to do is, you are going to check the reviews, you are going to call up your friends and ask for the feedback. Based on the reviews and the feedbacks whatever you get, you will watch one of the movie and you will come out of that particular theater. That is what it is happening here. So the feedback and the reviews whatever you read are the control and selector inputs. Data inputs are the multiple movies. Output is a single movie what you have watched. This is what is a multiplexer in general. See here, the technical definition of the multiplexer is explained to you. A multiplexer, which is abbreviated as a data selector, or MUX, has a group of data inputs, which means it has got multiple data inputs, and a group of control inputs, which means it has some selector inputs. The control inputs are used to select one of the data input and connect it to the output terminal. That's it. That is what it is going to do. Multiple data inputs, some selector inputs, and one output. Control inputs will be selecting the data inputs and they will be sending it to the output side. This is what it happens in case of your multiplexers. The diagram here shows you one of the basic multiplexer, which is actually a 2:1 multiplexer. We'll check out the classifications of the multiplexer very soon. But the block diagram, whatever I can see here, is a basic one. So there are two data inputs. So this is your data input 1, this is your data input 2, let's say that. And this is your output, this is your output. And this is your selector input, this is your selector input. So based on the values of the selector inputs, one of the data inputs will be selected and he will be sent to the output side. So this A can have two values. It can have the value either 0 or it can have the value 1. When A is equal to 0, I0 will be selected. When A is equal to 1, I1 will be selected. Or you can write the equation for the output to be A bar into I0 plus A into I1. For example, when A is equal to 0, let's say that A is 0. When A is 0, Z will be equal to 0 bar will become 1. 1 into I0 plus here 1 into, it is 0 into I1. So what will be the output? It will be I0. When A is equal to 1, when A is equal to 0, Z will be 0 into I0 plus 1 into I1. So your output will be I1, which means you can write the truth table for the multiplexer to be A and Z. Suppose if it is 0, your output is I0. Suppose it is 1, your output is I1. This is the simplest of the things. This is the simplest of the multiplexer. These multiplexers are further categorized into various ones. First one is 2:1 mux, second is 4:1, third is 8:1 mux, 16:1 mux, or you can also take 32:1 mux, or you can either take 64:1 mux. Based on data inputs, all the things are available. The first number here, that is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 and 64 corresponds to the data inputs. See, I called it as 2:1 mux. This number 2 is your data inputs and 1 is your output. Similarly, in case of this, 2, 4, 8 and 16 are all your data inputs. 32, 64 are also data inputs. The second number 1, 1, 1, 1 and 1 and 1 here. This is your data output. The next question what I should ask myself is, sir, how are we going to select the selector inputs? How many selector inputs are needed for the multiplexer? Number of selector inputs for a multiplexer depends on the data inputs. Suppose if it is a 2:1 multiplexer, you had how many selector input? 1. How did you get it as 1? 2 to the power how much is 2? 2 to the power 2 to the power 1 will be 2, which means that if there are 2 data inputs, you need to have 1 selector inputs. 2 to the power how much is 32? 2 to the power 5 is 32, which means that a 32:1 mux should be having 5 selector input. 2 to the power how much is 8? 2 to the power 3 is 8, which means that this mux should be having 3 selector inputs. So based on the data inputs, your multiplexers will be having selector inputs chosen. So that is what this particular slide explains to you. Moving on next, you can see the lot of muxes here. So this is your 4:1 mux. This is your 8:1 mux. As explained to you, 4:1 mux, this number corresponds to input. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 inputs. This is output, that's your output. 2 to the power how much is 4? 2 to the power 2 is 4. That 2 corresponds to what? Selector input. That 2 corresponds to selector input. Suppose if you want to write the truth table, you can write it like this. A, B and Z. So this can have the value 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, isn't it? This will be I0, I1, I2 and I3. Truth table of your multiplexer. Or you can write output equation. Z is equal to A bar B bar I0 plus A bar B into I1 plus AB bar into I2 plus AB into I3. You can substitute these values here. If you are substituting 0, 0, If you are substituting 0, 0, this will become 0, this will become 0, and this will also become 0. And your Z will be equal to I1. So this is your characteristic equation of your multiplexer. So you can write the block diagram. This is the truth table. This is the block diagram or symbolic diagram. And this is a characteristic equation of your multiplexer. Similarly, for 8 is to 1 mux, 8 is what? 8 is data inputs. I have the data inputs here. And 2 to the power, how much is 8? 2 to the power 3. So you have got 3 selector inputs. And what is this 1? 1 is your output. In general, if there are 2 to the power n data input lines, there are n control inputs and 1 output. This is what this block diagram is corresponding to. They took a 4 is to 1 mux. Previously, they took a 2 is to 1 mux, 4 is to 1 mux, 8 is to 1 mux, and finally they generalized the block diagram of a multiplexer. So multiplexer is basically multiple to 1, multiple input and 1 output. Internal circuitry of an 8 is to 1 mux. As I said you earlier, if you can open up a multiplexer IC, this is what you can see inside a multiplexer IC. You can see a series of AND gates and you can see one OR gate. So this is your 8 is to 1 mux. How many inputs are there? 8. See here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 data inputs. How many control inputs? 3. 3 control inputs are A, B and C. So this is 0, 0, 0. This will be 0, 0, 1. This will be 0, 1, 0. This will be 0, 1, 1. This will be 1, 0, 0. This will be 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So when the control inputs are 0, 0, 0, when the control inputs are 0, 0, 0, I0 will be selected and I0 will be coming to the output side. When the control inputs are 0, 0, 1, I1 will be selected and I1 will be coming to the output side. When the control inputs are 1, 1, 0, I6 will be selected and it will be coming to the output side. Suppose if it is an 4 is to 1 mux, then obviously I'll be having 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 OR gate with only 2 control inputs and 4 data inputs. So the control inputs or the values of the control inputs actually decide which input should be going at the output of the multiplexer. This is how your multiplexer generally works. Yeah, here. This particular truth table, what you can see here, let's say that this is not visible, okay? Let's say that I'll just mark this with double tick mark. Let's say that let us not observe this particular truth table right now, we'll observe it later. So the table, what I can see up till here, this particular table corresponds to a 16 is to 1 multiplexer truth table. So 16 is to 1 mux. How many selector inputs? 4 selector input. You have them 1, 2, 3, 4. How many output? 1 output. So based on the values of your selector inputs, your outputs will be selected. Your outputs will be getting. So basically this may be your I0, I1, I2, I3 and I15. And corresponding to this particular truth table, you have written the circuit diagram. This circuit diagram actually corresponds to 16 is to 1 multiplexer. So you can check it very carefully. D0 to D15. So total it makes up around 16 data inputs. 4 selector inputs A, B, C, D. 4 selector input. VCC and ground, which is must and should. 1 output. 74150 is actually the IC number of your 16 is to 1 multiplexer, which means that your task has been reduced now. You don't have to take AND gates, you don't have to take OR gates, you don't have to connect them together. You go to the shop, ask the shopkeeper, give me 74150 IC. 74150 IC is an IC which is a 16 is to 1 multiplexer IC. So take the things and connect it and you'll be getting the output of the multiplexer or 16 is to 1 multiplexer. But if you observe very carefully here, there is one more input which is called as strobe input. This strobe input can also be called as enable input. You can also call it as enable input. For your multiplexer IC, enable input is a must and should if you want your IC to be working very properly. If you want your IC or multiplexer to be enabled, you need to be activating this enable input. Without this enable input, no matter you give the input, no matter you give the output, no matter you connect the selector output or no matter you connect VCC or ground, your IC will not work. So enable input or strobe input is a very important input. This symbol or this input Can you see a bubble here? Can you see a bubble here? Which means that this enable input is an active low input. Active low input means it should always be grounded. Normally my inputs are called as active high input and active low input. Active high input means it should be connected to 1. Active low input means it should be connected to 0 or it should be connected to 0. It should be connected to 0 or it should be connected to ground. So this enable input of your multiplexer is normally a active low input. You should connect your enable pin or pin number 9 of your 74150 to ground if you want your IC to turn on or if you want it to be working very efficiently. Always this will not work. So this is regarding a 16:1 multiplexer IC. Now let us look into the table what has been left out. If you can remember this particular table is nothing but the table that is obtained by using an entered variable mapping method. So what they have done here is they have reduced your 16:1 multiplexer into a 8:1 multiplexer. This reduction from an higher order to the immediate next order can be done using an entered variable mapping method, which has been already covered in the previous topic or in the previous module we have covered it. So you can check here this truth table with when it is reduced to 8:1 mux, it has got only 8 outputs. So what they have taken is they have taken this to be a combination of one input. In entered variable mapping method, one of the variable is eliminated and the variable what is eliminated is written in the output as an independent variable. So this variable is eliminated and they have considered this to be this table itself is missing. This table what has been marked in pink itself has been removed in the entered variable mapping method and they have written the corresponding table here. 0 0 0 0 0 0. So basically ABC 0 0 0. When ABC is 0 0 0, they have written the output. And the output what they have written is output what you are getting is 1 and 0. As you are getting 1 and 0, you will come and check what is the value of D previously. When it is 1, it is 0. When it is 0, it is 1, because of which they have written D bar. We check the next one, 0 0 1. It is 1 1. As both the outputs are 1 and 1, they have written 1. See here, 0 1 1. When it is 0 1 1, both the outputs are 0. They have written 0 directly. When it is 1 1 1, when it is 1 1 1 here, output is 0 and 1. When it is 0 and 1, they will come back and check what is the value of D. When it is 0, it is 0. When it is 1, it is 1. And that D has been written here. This is what is entered variable mapping method in order to reduce the higher order multiplexer to a immediate lower order multiplexer. If this is the only way that is available, no, this is not the only way. There is also, or there are also, or there is also multiple way in which you can reduce your higher order multiplexer to a lower order multiplexer. This 16:1 mux, when it is reduced into 8:1 mux, they have implemented it here. This IC, the same one, has got 8 inputs. So 16, from 16 it has been reduced to 8. And the IC number for this is 74151. This is your 8:1 mux. So 8 data inputs, 3 selector inputs, 1 output. If you want, you can connect VCC, you can take ground, and you can make enable input also. You can show it, no issues. This particular method has been shown to you previously. So you can see this is your I0, I1, I2, this is I3, this is I4, this is I5, this is I6, and this is I7. So I0 is D bar. See here, this is I0 actually. I0 is connected to D bar. I1 is connected to 1. 1, 2, wherever it is 1, it is connected to VCC. I3 is 0. 3 is connected to ground. I7 is D. 7th pin is connected to D. So this is how you can implement a higher order mux using a lower order mux. This topic or this question is an important one for me from the examination point of view. What they have done here is they have implemented a 32:1 mux using 16:1 mux. But they have not gone with the entered variable mapping method, they have gone directly with the designing. So a 32:1 mux, when I speak about 32:1 mux, how many data inputs? There should be 32 data inputs. How many selector inputs? There should be 5 data inputs. How many output? 1 output or 1 output. So 32 inputs are given to a two 16:1 multiplexers. So they have taken two 16:1 mux. So this is one 16:1 mux. Maybe I can say this is 74150. This is also 74150. So D0 to D15, 16 inputs are given to one of the 16:1 mux, and remaining 16 inputs are given to one more 16:1 mux. So when I speak about 16:1 mux, how many selector inputs are needed? 4. And those 4 selector inputs are connected here. 4 selector inputs are connected here. And they will be selecting one among the 16 data inputs, and they will be sending to the output side. This will be selecting one, and this will be selecting one. Out of the ones what is coming out of the output of the 16:1 multiplexer, one has to be selected, and that work is done by your 2:1 mux. So as I said you, how many selector inputs? 5. So 4 are connected here and 1 is connected here. Suppose if you are asking me to implement a 16:1 mux using an 8:1 mux, what I'll do is I'll take two 8:1 mux as an example. I'll give the data inputs. I'll give the data inputs. So I'll give 3 select inputs here, 3 select inputs here. I'll take the output from this, and the output of this will be given to one more 2:1 mux. I'll give one more input, and this will be the output. So any higher order muxes can be implemented using the immediate lower order muxes by going with the entered variable mapping method, or you can go with the actual design using the lower order muxes. This is an important question to me, even from the examination point of view. So please concentrate on this particular question. There are a lot other questions which are given in your question bank also. So please do refer them. So this is all what we had to study with respect to your multiplexers. In fact, there is a lot to be studied, but your curriculum has given only, or they have restricted the syllabus of the multiplexers itself. So we have restricted our study to the limited boundaries. Moving on further, we'll check regarding 3-state buffers. But before studying this 3-state buffers, let's check what are these buffers. Let us say that you have a circuit. Okay, I'm drawing it very small. You have a circuit and it's giving an output. This output should be given to multiple circuits. Circuit 1, circuit 2, circuit 3, circuit 4, circuit 5, circuit 6. Now when the single output of this particular circuit is given to multiple circuits, what is the problem that might occur? The problem what might occur is this circuits may not function properly because the signal what is coming from here might be weakened, or it is already weakened, because of which your circuits what I have connected here are not working properly. If you remember, if you consider this to be a music system, and if you consider this to be speakers that are connected here, if you do not connect an amplifier in between, your speakers are not going to give you the loud noise. Very similarly, in case of my digital circuits also, there are scenarios where a single circuit need to give the output to multiple circuits as input. But when you are asked to give the multiple inputs from a single output, those particular circuits will not be able to function very properly, or technically speaking, this circuit may not be able to drive all these circuits in a efficient manner. So in order to increase the drive capability of a music system, you connect an amplifier. In order to drive the driving capability of the digital circuit, I use something called as buffers. That is what it has been explained here. That is what it has been explained here throughout. Why do we call it as a 3-state buffer? As just because of the ways, or just because of the state in which it is going to work, we call it as a 3-state buffer, or you call it as a tri-state buffer. One of the application of a buffer. Moving on next, let's say that this is giving an input of 0, and here I have an input of or 1, and it is 0. It is to be given to the circuit at a time. Now my circuit is going to take either 1, 0, or it is going to take 0.5. What is it going to take actually? This particular confusions that occurs in the digital circuit will actually be clarified, or it will actually be solved using the buffers that are connected here. So these buffers are going to remove of this intermediate voltages or intermediate currents that are flowing to the circuit. So this is the second application of the buffers. Normally this scenario happens almost in all the circuits. When there are multiple inputs that are coming to the circuit, normally those multiple inputs will not be of the same level, they may be of the different levels. And those different level voltages need to be brought up to a single common level, and that work is done by your tri-state buffer. The circuit diagram, what you can see here is, this is my first stage circuit, these are your second stage circuit. This circuit is asked to drive all this particular circuit. It cannot do it, because of which I have connected a buffer in between which looks like a triangle, and this buffer will be increasing the driving capability. This buffer can be of two kinds. It can be inverting or it can be non-inverting. If I connect a bubble here, it looks to be a NOT gate, but it's actually not a NOT gate. If I connect a bubble here, it will become a inverting buffer, and as there is no a bubble connected here, it is a non-inverting buffer that has been connected here. Explanation regarding the buffer, how buffer actually works. So this is your buffer. Sorry. This is the buffer input. This is your driving signal. This is the output. Now B can be having two values. It can have value of 0 and it can have the value of 1. When B is equal to 0, C will be equal to Z. This Z is nothing but high impedance state. We call this as high impedance state or high resistance state. Very similar to what you can see here. When B is equal to 0, the switch is off. When switch is off, no current will flow through the circuit. So there will be now output in the output side, because of which we call that state as high impedance state or high resistance state. When B is equal to 1, C is equal to, when B is equal to 1, C will be equal to A. This is your second state. First was B is equal to 0, C is equal to Z. So these are the two states in which it can actually work. That's what is explained here. When the enable input is 1, the output equals C. When B is equal to 0, the output C acts like an open circuit, which means that it is disconnected from the output, so there is no current flow. This state is referred as high impedance state. Three-state buffers can also be called as tri-state buffers. This tri-state buffers can work in 4 different modes. It can work in 4 different modes, and we'll check what are the 4 different modes in which it can actually work. So these are the 4 different modes in which working. First one, B is equal to 0. When B is equal to 0, C will always be equal to Z, because the circuit is closed, no output flows. When B is equal to 1, C will be equal to A. So this A can be either 0 or this can either be 1. That is explained here. B can be 0, B can be 1. When B is 0, C will be in the high impedance state, because it is closed, right? When B is equal to 1, A is equal to 0, A is equal to 1. So C will be equal to A bar. That's explained in this particular truth table. This one, here what we are having is, the buffer input itself is inverted. When the buffer input is inverted, when B is equal to 0, your buffer will be on and C will be equal to A. When buffer input is 1, buffer is off and C will be in the high impedance state. That is what it is explained here. Here, buffer input as well as the buffer output, both the things are inverted, and corresponding to that, you can see the truth table. So you need to concentrate, or you need to remember even this 4 different modes in which actually your tri-state buffer can work, or 4 different types of the tri-state buffer. So this finishes off your curriculum or syllabus regarding your multiplexers and tri-state buffers. So basically my buffers are used to drive the circuit, or it is used to remove the intermediate state of your voltage. If you want to check out the application of a tri-state buffer, there is one application which is given here. See here, two tri-state buffers are tied together. When two tri-state buffers are tied together, let's say B is equal to 0. When B is equal to 0, this is on. Agree with me? And this is off. So your D will be equal to A. When B is equal to 1, this is off and this is on. In that case, D will be equal to C. Now, concentrate here. B and D. When it is 0, it is A. When it is 1, it is C. Don't you think this acts as a selector input and this is your output? Or don't you think this acts as a 2:1 multiplexer? So this is one of the application of your tri-state buffer. You can use your tri-state buffer as a multiplexer also. So that is what it is explained here. So when you join or when you tie two tri-state buffers or tri-state inputs of the buffers are tied together, you can rig it up as a multiplexer also. One of the application which probably you people need to remember, but as my topic roots deeply into multiplexer, they may not be asking you lot of questions regarding your tri-state buffer. Thank you.